Hey everybody, it's Friday! Friday! I don't know why I'm happy. I gotta work. But I wanted to talk about the president's address, state of address, yesterday. It happened last night, and I only caught a little bit of it this morning because I was real tired from work. Um, but a few key things that I noticed was I first want to talk about the bragging rights. Okay. Um, what he said about keeping Israel and the Ukraine armed was golden. He said that it's a used or old American artillery that we will now be replacing with new American artillery for here in the States for our defenses. The stuff that he gave to both of those countries was stuff that was sitting in storage. Okay? It's genius. It's exactly what I was talking about. I can't remember which post. I'll look it up sometime. But this is what I was talking about. I think about supporting Israel, supporting Ukraine, that it just provides a lot of American jobs in the weapons industry to top it all off, which I think will make up for the fact that there was so many jobs that would probably be at a loss after we pulled out of Afghanistan, after 18 years of war. After 18 years of investments, after 18 years of job security, it's a good thing to see that we can still keep this up and running, that our weaponry will never be old, expired. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what the correct word is, but I'm going to say expired, like it's fruit that's going to go bad. I'm not sure if that's the case. But there is sort of a time limit where it is most effective, So I am gonna say expired, but you get what I mean. Bragging rights. I got to state that. I got to post my bragging rights. We got jobs, and it's not gonna stop at artillery. It's also gonna go to medical. People who go overseas for medical situations, which is, which only makes sense, is that it's a good thing. Those doctors and even nurses, they go through years of learning the practices and everything, surgeons and stuff. They go through years of it, and the choice that they got right here in the States is, well, which hospital will pay me better, as opposed to actually which medical situation can I do where I can actually save lives, and get a paycheck, of course. But yeah, I mean, overseas, stuff like that. Same thing with the, as we found out through people giving, inoculating, Africans, where even, Ebola still exists and is strong, where the plague still exists and is strong. You got a lot of medical people and chemists and surgeons and not surgeons, pharmacists, people that went to school to know all these drugs and everything, to get all that education, and they get to go to Africa and they get to save a bunch of lives. Well, same analogy, just here, just with these two recent countries, Israel and the Ukraine. And these are our American citizens making good use of our American education. And yeah, it costs money and all this other stuff, but these are tax-paying Americans. So it's going to pan out, to what we can do this. And I like to remind everybody, America was making so much money that before President Trump came into office, one senator or representative, I think, his name was Andrew Yang, he did the calculations, he did the mathematical work and saw that the United States could actually be paid $1,000 a month by our government. That's how much money America was making before Trump and the pandemic took place. Okay. So to think that if we got somebody like Biden who's, falling off of his bicycle, sure, you know, but putting this stuff in place, artillery jobs, medical jobs, and everything else in between, like telecommunications and stuff, construction, and those two countries are going to be needing some reconstruction. Um, I mean, that's a lot of money to be made, and that's a lot of wealth and more add on to the nest egg of America. I know a lot of people out there that says, well, there is no gold anymore. There never was. Fort Knox was never real, and blah 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 blah. Yeah. I get that. But let's say that's still whether or not that's true or not. Don't forget the way the capitalist America works. We can build, surplus, and politicians want lock boxes while other politicians want the money that we make, for our country to be spared and shared with the rest of America, with all of America. Give that money back, all this other stuff. So we are actually going to come out on top, especially if this machine starts rolling. Okay, it's just that obvious. I'm not even an expert. I didn't do all the historical facts and, pertaining to each detail and all this other crap. No, I'm just looking at it through a general perspective. That's what I do as a guy like you and I. I'm the guy that tells you this at the water cooler. I'm the guy that tells you this in the break room. The general overall thing about this, regardless as to whoever's in charge, regardless as to whatever you think of the guy, it doesn't matter. What matters is that he's got everything in place to start making everything roll, and America stays on top. Okay? And you see the proof out of it, despite the fact that there's a little complaints about it. But Japan, okay? We helped recreate Japan. I mean, we destroyed it, but nevertheless, we helped recreate Japan. And Japan is freaking wealthy. The Japanese come over here, like vacation over here, buying all these brand name t-shirt and logo shirts and bottles of booze and stuff to take back to Edo, the way we do when we visit Mexico, or when we used to before all the cartels ruined everything. But yeah, I mean, we can help them, we can help us. I don't know if the Japanese still visit us anymore. Vacation down here. I'm not really sure, because our inflation and all this other crap just, I think it's ruined it for a lot of people, and I think the lack of herd immunity really, took a toll, but yeah, I mean, we used to have foreigners come over here all the time. We used to have people from other countries come over here all the time. And they loved us, they loved partying and all this other stuff. I remember renting videos, renting concerts, whatever band it was, from like, U2 all the way up to, Slayer or Iron Maiden. And you'd see them do a show in New York or Los Angeles, and you'd see people, hey, where do you come from to see this show? Where are you coming from? They're like, I'm coming from Northern England, and other people say, we're coming from Australia, we're coming to visit from such and such and such and such, I mean, people used to love coming over here all the time. And I think this thing that Biden is doing is going to help immensely, even if he can't see it. I don't think he could see it. I think he only sees the cause, He doesn't see the benefits of the investment, and it's quite possible he might not live long enough to actually see the benefits of the investment that's going on right now. I can't say that for sure, but given the fact that I mean, the guy's tripping on stairs and falling off of his bike. I mean, come on. There was a video where he said he was a Puerto Rican or something like that, and that he used to attend a black church, and and that. He's proud of Israel. He was born there. I don't know if that's ad lib or dubbed or whatever, but let's say it's true. Let's say it's real. Let's say that Biden does believe all that and stuff. He's again, it just stands to reason that he's not, I can actually say he's not looking at the future benefits of this investment. He's just looking at the cause. You know, all that being said, so what? You know, let it happen. You know, we earned this. You know, we deserve this. This is what we do. It's what we do anyway. It's what we do best anyway. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that that still goes on. Okay, so now my bragging rights is over. Let me get to an ugly reality. Okay, the support in Israel and the support in Ukraine is vital, because Ukraine is the standing point where Russia can't make a move on any more Eastern European countries. Okay, if he makes moves, you know, back to Crimea, back to Kosovo, back to Bosnia, you know, then they become more powerful, and we become more in danger. And something that he said when he was talking about Holland and Finland and all these other NATO countries and EU UN countries that are our allies, okay, especially the NATO part, you know, that's something to bear in mind, because that's a very serious thing. You know, Russia will try to look into invading those countries the way they've been doing, you know, for the past 2 decades, the rest of the Eastern European countries, you know, all the way up to the Ukraine. Okay, the Ukraine is that staging point. It's that staging point. It's that point where Russia can't go any further, because he can't move west to Finland and Norway and all them the way they want to. So they try to keep it in Eastern Europe with Bosnia and Kosovo and all them, Croatia, okay? But none of them can get attacked without Ukraine pushing back, saying this is the stopping point. That is vital. Biden did not mention that. And obviously for obvious reasons, because like amongst you and I, we can handle it. The general public, however, can go into a panic. And that's also a heavy reality, due to the fact that we're supplying weapons to them, we're supplying aid to them and all that, so they can stay the barrier for Russia. He mentioned something about that. He mentioned that this means our U.S. American soldiers won't have to go there to die over there for them. And it sounds very noble and valid, but at the same time, it's an ugly reality. It's a flip side, you know, one that falls under the lines of necessary evil. Okay, it's just necessary to keep us from dying and weakening. We have to supply support to the Ukraine. Okay, we have to support them. Same analogy now switch it to the Middle East. Israel, that one little tiny country who's attacked by the north, Lebanese, who's attacked by the south, Egypt and Syria to the north, and Hezbollah and Iran and Iraq and Iran, and I walked and I jogged. You know, all of these countries in the Middle East are ready to annihilate Israel, the one little country in the Middle East that's its own country, speaks its own language, does pretty well for itself economic wise and all this other stuff. It's held its own. Plus, it's enriched in minerals. One of the reasons, as far back as Egypt, Israel was enslaved was because of the mining that they did, taking all of their materials, their gems, their jewels, their metals and such. Same thing with Rome after Egypt. Same thing with Germany during the Third Reich, during the time of the Third Reich. You know, same thing with Persia. Same thing with all these countries that took turns trying to oppress Israel. Trying to, well, not so much oppress them, but just trying to take everything that they've got, even if they had to go through oppressive measures. Okay? So now you have Israel, its own country, with Palestine on their lands, because Palestine wasn't around from the beginning of time. Palestine formed itself, made itself comfortable on Israel lands back when they were called the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? Gaza made itself comfortable on Israel land. Gaza was never the darn, piece of land from a long time ago or whatever, pre-biblical times. Both Palestine and Gaza are about 2,000, no more than 2,000 years old. Okay, as opposed to Israel, which is formed from like 1200 BC. Okay, but that history aside. Okay, that history aside. It's the one country that's holding off a bunch of Muslim extremists, Islam extremists that are hate groups in every single one of those countries except Israel. Okay? So why shouldn't we defend Israel? Okay? Why shouldn't we supply all the aid and all that to Israel? Because we can't turn to Lebanon and say, hey, take care of your Hezbollah problems. Why? Because they're not tough enough to handle Hezbollah. Why in the world will we turn our backs and say, well, Israel is their problem? Or they're Israel's problem and Israel's problem. No. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that their own country can't knock out. Okay? Hell yes, supply Israel. Hamas is an hate organization that tiny little, that's smaller than it's smaller than Israel. Tiny little Palestinian country can't handle. They can't knock out that problem. And yeah, I know we've got KKK here in the U.S., but KKK are these little hick towns, okay? The KKK has to deal with, streets and all this other stuff, They think the Jews are going to replace them and all this other garbage. They're not that big of a threat. They can only do an occasional killing, Occasionally they've done something like actually only once they've dragged a man to death. Okay, that's far different from a power that can go overseas and blow up an embassy. Okay, the KKK can't do that. The KKK isn't all that. Okay, the most they've blown up is power stations. Okay, that's about it. Stations that provide electricity to to surrounding neighborhoods to top it all off. Okay, they're not blowing up embassies. In fact, the only person of hate that had ever been able to do something so dangerous was Timothy McVeigh back in 1996. I can't even remember. Okay, Timothy McVeigh was about the most dangerous as it ever got, blowing up the World Trade Center. Not even a building of power. Okay, the World Trade Center, a building of commerce. Okay, that was about it. KKK is not Hamas, not by a long shot. KKK is not Hezbollah, not by a long shot. KKK is not Al Qaeda or Taliban, not by a long shot. So back to the subject, fighting off all of those things. Hell yes, we're going to supply weapons to Israel. It is a very big necessary evil. It is a big necessary evil for that one tiny little country. It is a big necessary evil. So yeah, we're definitely going to be doing that. That's a fantastic thing that, for a guy that can't even keep balance on his bicycle. That's incredible. A guy that trips off on his own stairs going up to Air Force One, trying to jog up the stairs, look hip and cool, and then stumble. You know, that this is really big. That's very commemorative for a guy born in Israel who lived in Puerto Rico and attended black churches. That's fantastic. You know, that's a very big move that this guy has done, and it's commemorable. Okay, it's commemorative. All right. But yeah, I mean, it was great. The rest of the stuff that Biden did was obviously try to narrow down all of the other accusations that's going on and all of the other rumors and stuff. You know, I did one called sleeper cells. This shit again. Biden himself had to try to do a calming of the American people by telling them that we're all, you know, strong and secured and we got to stay this way and all this good stuff. You know, Biden said this and that and gave examples of sad stories and all the stuff of, well, not sad story, but like actual incidences. You know, he tried tackling anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Okay. He said, we got to stop doing that. We got to stay focused on that and stop letting anti-Semitism and Islamophobia take over our lives. And in a way, it's true. Because after 9/11, there was a lot of hate crimes committed against people of the Middle East. You know, the breaking off ties with China, the CCP to be more specific, the Chinese Communist Party. You know, then came a lot of accusations leading to hate crimes towards Asian people. You know, immigrants, same thing. Just basically a lot of harsh stuff. Even you know, the Native American community with Keystone Pipeline wanted to stop the pipeline being built on sacred lands, and that just turned into a big fiasco of lies. And the law all the way up to the presidency, President Obama looking the other way, saying, we stand with you, Indians, good luck, and all this stuff, but looking the other way once the water cannons were being used on Native Americans in the dead winter, in the middle of winter. Okay? And yeah, I voted for Obama, but I didn't expect Obama to be the hero of the day. I didn't expect Obama to be Teddy Roosevelt. Okay? Stopping a company from doing an evil misdoing, and catering to greed. You know, I didn't expect Obama to do that. I speak soft but carry a big stick. You know, so I can talk. I did vote for him, so I can talk about the negative side of him. I'm not saying it because I hate Obama or any crap like that. That all the other criticisms are coming from all the critics are coming from. As a guy that voted for the guy, I'm very proud and very happy to have had him as my president. However, he did have some faults, and that was one of them. Back to this current president, Biden, yeah, he's got some faults, but I can commend him for his work, especially for these good deeds and stuff that he's doing right now. Okay. I wish he was just a little bit more stronger on the migrant situation, because he had Alejandro Mayorkas, who had Kamala Harris handling the paperwork in DC. They were setting up a nice, well-functioning machine to bring in the migrants that were at the border, process them, quarantine them if they had COVID, and start working on vetting and tending to sponsors and facilitating those that didn't have sponsors and all of that. And all of the southern governors just, spat on it and ruined it, messed things up and complicated everything. For more detailed, go to any one of my past whatchamacalls where I'm talking about Governor Greg Abbott. Because I start off with my governor, and then I talk about Ducey and DeSantis, and any other politician that interfered with that well-oiled machine that was handling the migrant issue. So back to the president, yeah, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. I wish he would uh, straighten out and strengthen himself concerning certain aspects like the migrant situation. But I applaud him 100%. I commend him 100% on the support for Israel and the support for Ukraine, the two countries that are actually good staging points to fighting off communists, to fighting off extremists, religious extremists, especially because their own countries can't. Okay? In the Middle East, they can't handle the hate organizations in their groups, in their countries. They can't control them. Hell, Gaza, Hamas took control over Gaza. You know, they took Gaza City and appointed their own Hamas person, member as president and all this good stuff. I mean, come on. It's good that we support Israel. It's good that we support Israel. It's good that they push out these hate organizations and do the slow and painful push out of civilians without killing or murdering or raping. Hopefully, knock on wood. Let's hope that it doesn't go that far, even though the accusations are going to start flying. As sure as Egypt closed their borders and wouldn't open it for Gaza civilians to go into safety because they wanted those Gaza civilians to be bombed and shot down so that way they could tell the world, look what the evil Israelites in the West are doing. Okay? That failed. So a Christian hospital, a Christian children's hospital with refugees, adult refugees who weren't patients, but they sought refuge there, got blown up. And look at all of the Middle East and go, look what the Israelites and the infidels did to their own hospital. Look what they did. Despite the fact that surveillance and all that stuff showed not only was it the artillery bombing not coming from Israel or the West, it came from behind enemy lines. And to top it all off with the usage of an older version of an artillery that was made out of a different country. It wasn't even an American artillery shell that was launched and bombed into thing. I think it was probably a Chinese one, because it also misdirected and went into a different thing, presenting a sort of a blast point that really wasn't as damaging as an American artillery shell would be. Okay? All this evidence that said it wasn't us and all this stuff, they tried to get away with saying, look what the West did, and it failed. Okay? It failed. So now they're going over here to try to tell everybody, don't follow the West and all this other crap. And they're lining up together with Hezbollah. They're lining up together with Hamas. They're lining up together with anything out of Iraq. I wouldn't be surprised if ISIS comes back out, pops their head back up. Hey, we're back. Where's the fight? Where do we shoot? Okay, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, because we got all of these Middle Eastern countries that are trying to destroy this one little Middle Eastern country, Israel. That's our friend. Okay, and we can't rely on Middle Eastern countries to hold them off. They're not going to. In point of fact, I'm going to go as far as saying they don't want to. They don't want to. Not until Israel is actually destroyed. So yeah, big props go to the current president for the efforts that he's doing, the supports. Big fingers crossed that he picks up where he lags, and that's it. I mean, that's really all that I had to do. Bragging rights to myself for saying that support is great for the American jobs. That is just going to make us all that much more stable again, and well-to-do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my comment on the state of address that President Biden did And here's hoping to that everything falls into place. And take care of each other this weekend. Y'all have a good one. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.